Finally tonight, Hollywood in Western New York. A new report by the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation shows California lost out on nearly $8 billion in economic activity, 28,000 jobs, and over $350 million in revenue from film and TV projects that chose to film elsewhere in recent years. So places like Georgia and New Mexico, Louisiana, and New York are where the majority of runaway productions went, with $187 million in production spending coming to New York State. So how much of that came here to Western New York? Tim Clark is with us tonight. He's the film commissioner here in Buffalo with Film Buffalo Niagara. Tim, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you, Kate. It's always a privilege to be on your show and on your channel. Channel 2 is such a great legacy station here in Buffalo.
Well, we love having you, and we want to begin with this, that $8 billion estimate. So that was based on a review of 157 out of 312 projects that applied for, but they didn't get a California tax credit. That was between 2015 and 2020. So with that in mind, what can you tell us about this trend, and has our region been able to benefit because of it?
Yeah, it sure has been able to benefit, and it's very palpable. What happened in California is they were very late to the incentives game. There were other states that were inducing people to leave Los Angeles, and the common belief of the executives at the movie studios were that, it's Hollywood. People aren't going to shoot in Buffalo. They're not going to shoot in Atlanta. They're not going to shoot in New Orleans. But in fact, that's exactly what happened. Because they were induced to come to places like Buffalo, we've really benefited a lot. And New York State really does have a very nice tax credit, and even more to come to places upstate here. And Buffalo certainly falls in that category. So we've been a beneficiary indeed.
It's sort of interesting how they kind of underestimated people wanting to go somewhere else. And in that sort of theme of if you build it, they will come, we wanted to give people a sense of what's happening in terms of film here in Buffalo and run through some film studios that we have or will have. So if we go through them here, there's the big one, Buffalo Film Works. That's an old factory complex off of Babcock Street in Buffalo that once produced railroad cars. So they're in the process of finishing up their fourth soundstage, which the company says will be the largest in New York State when it debuts this spring. Paranormal Activity: Next of Kin was the last big film they shot there. Then there's Buffalo Studios. That's a large film studio coming to a field off of South Park near the Tesla plant in South Buffalo. That's headed by a Los Angeles-based producer and Grand Island native, Matt Fleckenstein. He recently got a state grant for the project and new investors for that $75 million project. It was supposed to be completed by this winter, but some delays because of the pandemic. Then finally on Niagara Street, the $50 million Great Point Studios complex, that's set to break ground this spring and could maybe open by the end of the year or early 2023. So all of that is based on our reporting that we did back in January. So Tim, are there any updates on these projects, and what's it going to take to really make Buffalo and Western New York a nonstop production hub?
Well, it's starting to be that, exactly as you just described. But in the case of Buffalo Filmworks, they have 3 active stages. That's where A Quiet Place 2 shot, incidentally, and so many other great films. And this 4th stage that they're about to open will be, as I believe it to be, the largest soundstage in North America. Now, that's kind of crazy to think that that'll be in Buffalo. But what that does is it provides us a great asset, a great resource for us to go to HBO or to Netflix or to any of these streaming services and say, look, we've got this giant stage that could accommodate, some really big episodic television stuff. Why don't you come here? And then in fact, not only have we built these physical plants like the fine owners of Buffalo Filmworks did, Kevin, Jen, and George, we've also built a very great union crew base here that augments, facility like that, so that we really do have all the tools in the toolbox to bring it all home for these giant shows. And it wouldn't shock me to see some giant movie franchise stuff coming here soon.
Well, it's really exciting to see how this is growing. We have been chatting with Tim Clark. He is the commissioner of the Buffalo Niagara Film Office. We look forward to seeing what's to come here in Buffalo, and thanks again for joining us.
Well, thank you.